Hidden Object Guru here, joined by...
The Gun Wrangler.
Ready to talk the season ender of Travelers. And a couple of episodes leading up to it. Because, they had to move pretty quickly to get us there. That's not a complaint, but...
oh no, that's just a statement of fact.
Oh, did they ever? I'm going to say something, and I think you're going to agree with me on this one, and we'll get to the season ender in a second. But this is a last 3 episodes made by people who are 100% sure they're getting a 3rd season, which it must have been pretty shattering to them to find out that they weren't, and such a relief to find out that they were again. Oh my god. Like, this is not an episode of television by people who thought they were wrapping up a story.
Yeah.
Whew. Oh my god. Alright, so, let's get started.
Like, it was headed one way.
Yep.
And then, I'm pretty sure someone drove a dump truck full of money.
Well, no, I mean, you gotta figure it out. Like, you gotta watch this and remember, like, when they made this, they were sure there was gonna be a 3rd season. I swear to God. And then they found out, we are not getting a 3rd season. And then they're like, we have to desperately search for another broadcaster. Because, oh my god, we can't leave it here. People will never forgive us if we leave it here. Yeah.
Yep.
The thing is, I think Brad Wright, the creator, must know that. Because Brad Wright worked on Stargate, and his audience, the audience never forgave Stargate for how Stargate Atlantis ended. Because Stargate Atlantis does not have an ending. And the weird part with Stargate Atlantis is, they like...
It was on at all?
No. The weird part about Stargate Atlantis is that, like, they knew they were getting they found out they were getting canceled, and they had an arc for the season and a plans for a 6th season. They're like, hey, should we change the end of season 5 since we're not coming back? And they're like, screw it, let's just do what we were going to do anyway. So, yeah, that was kind of brutal. Whereas, and I'm like, I like to think he wouldn't do that again, but you know what? Maybe he would. Alright, so let's start with episode 10.
Yeah. That is a starting place.
Well, it's the logical place to start. The first one we watched. We get some big moves. Do you want to synopsize this one?
Nah, you got this.
Okay.
Sort of.
Hey.
I'll add corrections as I see fit.
All right. The big episode is we've got huge drama because are you ready for this? The future president of the United States is in danger.
Yeah. I have to say, this episode was not great.
It's not fantastic.
It's not even good.
No, there's some good stuff in this episode, although it does unveil the most ridiculous coincidence. Like the biggest contrivance the show has ever attempted.
You mean setting up webcams everywhere?
No.
Yeah, that is literally the worst contrivance, because why would they walk around constantly with, like, body cams and shit? Just been like, yep, gotta document everything.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right, it would make it a lot easier, because they have this idea, because you're right that it is a little contrived, the idea that, oh, well, they can deal these attackers by just webcamming stuff to a hard drive, so the director can see where the people who are attacking them are in the future and overwrite them.
Yeah.
And yeah, that does seem like a cheat that would solve a lot of their problems if they
like
just
all the
doing it.
Travelers would have to do is just be like, yeah, I'm some sort of weird cyborg, and
yeah, well, you don't even have to
around
these
with
days.
webcams.
Like you can just like you can have subtle webcams these days.
Shit, you can get a nice set of Google Glasses and you're okay.
Oh yeah, and you can get ones that don't look particularly terrible that stream outwards to another stream outwards to they connect to your phone and you stream to a secure traveler network. So there you go. I think that would work fine.
I solved the future. Let's go.
So yes, you're right that this opens up a solution to a lot of their problems that is probably going to get ignored in the future. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is she Oh God, how am I blanking on the doctor's name? This is terrible.
Marcy.
Marcy, thank you. Marcy goes into a dream state to try and get in touch with her old memories. And honestly, when the dream state started, I'm like, okay, so they're trying to say that her understanding of reality, like it's being processed, like her vision of Marcy's memories is being processed through her own things, and they're, you know, like both are coming in. Because what happened to him, what happened to Eric McCormack when he went into his own memories was there was like little pieces of him and little pieces of Agent McLaren, right? And so I thought that's what was happening. And then we find out, you know, halfway through that, no, Enrico Colantoni, Traveler 001, was actually in those memories. I'm like, so why is she thinking, and honestly, maybe it was clear to you, but as I was watching, I'm like, why is she why is she, that guy, representing an evil doctor to her? Why would she pick him? Like, why would her subconscious? You're like, oh no, he's actually there and actually an evil doctor.
Yeah,
that
this
was
is
all
not an interpretive
happening.
thing.
Yeah, like it was all literally happening, that she was, and this is where the really contrived thing. So, Marcy was not a woman with mental problems who was in care. She was a medical professional whose brain got badly damaged by an attempt to do a brain transfer. Yeah, to do a body brain transfer into her, right?
Yeah.
And weirdly, that actually makes sense to everything we learned about how her mind was damaged. Like, all the stuff about her mind being damaged, then having to repack it, given how we know about how their technology works, the way her brain damage is, it actually makes sense that it was a failed transfer. But it still is kind of an amazing coincidence. Like, an unbelievably contrived coincidence, if you will, that a woman whose brain was damaged by a faulty transfer using a version of the technology that didn't quite work, right? Because it was being built with modern day tech rather than future tech. It was just the best approximation Simon could come up with.
And emphasis approximation.
Yeah, no, obviously. Right, that it's the best that he could do. Right, that the effect of that would be to damage her. But the idea that then, in an amazing coincidence, that same woman would later get attacked in front of a video camera and become the destination point of a traveler is... I mean, it's pretty contrived.
Yes, it is extraordinarily contrived, one could say.
So, I'm not saying that this is definitely the worst episode of Travelers. But this might be the worst episode of Travelers. A show which is generally so good, but this episode is just so off-the-rails bonkers in both halves of the story. Like, it's not just one half of the story that's a problem. Both halves of this story are just crazy bonkers.
Like, oh man, they must have done, like, the head writer, someone offered him an 8-ball and he just, one sitting and went to town.
Oh, God. Kind of. I mean, it feels a little like that. It does feel a little like that. Uh-oh. Apparently our third person doesn't know the rule that only the host can pick up crates and move them. So, yeah, he's having a little bit of trouble. We have a third player. I don't know that,
I think this might be the same person who just randomly showed up other times.
It's possible. It's possible we're being stalked by someone. Ooh. That wasn't as creepy as I thought it was. So yeah, it's always nice to see Justin Lewis back. I like Justin Lewis a lot. He was the star of a number of Canadian TV shows. He was on Breaking Bad very briefly. You may remember him from Saw 4, although all right-thinking people didn't see Saw 4, so probably not.
And most of the rest kind of just deleted the memories here.
The weird part is, it might have been Saw 5. Like, the Saws are all so interchangeable. that it might have been Saw 5 he was in, and I just have no idea.
It's a real possibility.
I legit think it was 4 because I feel like 4 is the return of Donnie Wahlberg, but I could be wrong. They really are, like, just completely blah and interchangeable. But yeah, so it's nice to see Justin Lewis back. I always appreciate him. I think he does a good job. And like I said last week, you know, they're nice. They've done a good job of showing that, yeah, he's an asshole, but he's got a point of view too. And the whole idea that McLaren had been there for, you know, a week when he butted heads with Justin Lewis. Now that he's been there for a year and see the kind of crap they have to deal with, maybe he doesn't think Justin Lewis is such a monster anymore. So I thought
he's
that
just
was well
like,
done.
oh, fuck this.
I know.
He's just like at the point where it's like, oh man.
Yeah, and you get more nice notes about the way the future's changed because this little girl was not the 53rd president in the timeline that McLaren comes from. But things have been changed, and it's not like their historian has got the upgrade, like has gotten the new timeline update. But it's not like he's told everybody about the new future, because he's been specifically told not
instructed
to.
Not to,
yeah.
yes.
He's been specifically instructed not to tell people about the future. And I'm like, and at the same time, I'm like, dear Marcy, you couldn't have waited to do the heart-stoppy thing until you had someone there to help you out?
Yeah, like someone for a doctor.
I know. Like, I understand you need to do the NDE to get your brain to integrate the memories, because that's what Eric McCormack told you had to do. Like, I get that part, but you could have this medically supervised. And there's no reason not to have this medically supervised, except for a cheap thrill. You know, and like, oh my god, is she going to get back in time to save her? Well, of course she is. Like, that's...
Yes, because
they're not throwing away the whole show.
Aaron McCormack said in not so many words, maybe you should try this.
Yeah, like, here's what I did. It worked for me. You're a doctor. You figure it out. Wink. You know? Because Eric McCormack has given up on a lot of the rules. He's gone native.
I think they all kind of have.
Yeah, I think to a certain extent they've all gone native. I mean, Trevor tried to save the life of his guidance counselor, who remains my favorite side character on the show.
Honestly, that seems like kind of an improvement.
Yeah, I know. She's great. I'm such a fan of the guidance counselor, or Traveler 0027, I guess. She's fantastic. We finally found out exactly how Trevor is the oldest member of the team. And it is that he's a guy who, to prove brain switching worked, they
has his brain switched repeatedly
a bunch of times. And so he's hundreds of years old at least over 100 years old as a result. It's
I
not
think
because of
in
future
conversation,
technology. Yeah.
In conversation, it's brought up that he's more than 100 years old. He's like a couple hundred years old.
Because they keep swapping him out. And it's kind of rough to wrap your head around, because he's like Traveler, and they do this with the other experts. And that's another interesting thing about how both incredibly precious life is to the director and how cheap it is. Because he's like Traveler 160-something, right? And the woman who defeated the asteroid was like Traveler, I think, 40-something, and one of the programmers is 27. So, logically, all of these people have also been in the future, have been swapping bodies so that the director can keep their skill sets around. Like, the director can't risk losing these people's skill sets.
We have two strangers with us.
I know.
Yeah.
It's going a lot faster because of it. Right? So, in the future, and I want to know how this is happening. Like, the director is just, overwriting, I'm going to call them surplus people, which is weird to think of anybody in the future with only 100,000 people left as surplus. But the director is overwriting surplus people with people who the director needs to keep around. Trevor, it was just an experiment to see how many times you could do this, and then when the technology was stable, they trained him to be an engineer and sent him back for an actual mission.
I thought he was an engineer to begin with.
He was already an engineer, yeah, but I'm just saying they trained him for time engineering, is what I'm saying. Like, they trained him up to be part of a team rather than just an engineer who worked on the project. You are right that he was always an engineer, and I should have... I was totally unclear of what I said there. But yes, they trained him up to be a team engineer and send him back to the past. Whereas, for example, 27, I guess, I mean, because she's more than 100 people before Trevor, is likely even older than him, and she's one of the people who programmed the director in the first place, and so she's been hanging around for, you know, more than 100 years, maybe a couple of 100 years, and that's fascinating.
Yep.
Especially since we have this big old question: what year did Enrico Colantoni come from?
Yeah.
You know? Because he's Traveler 001. So it's like... And this is where the numbering gets me a little confused, right? So when did they start numbering these people? Because here's my point. So Trevor can't have gotten his number when they first started doing the experiments. Because it's only because the experiments they did on him that they know they can switch people's bodies at all, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, because if it was that, because we know, and before Trevor was successfully done, there must have been a bunch of failed ones. So they didn't start the numbering until it got locked down. So we have to assume that, like, the numbering Trevor has, because it's nowhere near the rest of the team's numbering. So I feel like the numbering he has to be the next time he swapped out bodies after the program was officially started. Right? And when you consider that, and this is the thing that really fascinates me, when you consider that he's Traveler 140-something, and the rest of the team are in the 3000s, how many years was he just hanging out in the future being an engineer while people were getting sent into the past?
Well, here, let's do a quick comparison.
Okay.
In order of seniority...
Yeah. Enrico
Trevor Holden,
Colantoni's number 1.
Traveler 0115.
115, okay, thank you.
The next most senior person,
Yeah.
Philip Pearson, Traveler 3326.
Philip's 3326? So there you go.
Eric McCormack is
like
3468.
Okay. Yeah.
Carly is 3465.
Okay.
And Marcy is 3569.
Okay. Okay, I got it. And the weird part is it actually makes, from what we learn about Philip, it makes sense that he would have a lower number. Just because they established in the next episode, in episode 11, which we'll talk about in a second, that it takes a really long time to train a historian.
Yeah.
Like, they picked him basically from when he was a child, and, like, warped his mind. So
I wouldn't say warped his mind.
Well,
they just sort of
specifically crafted his brain just so he could serve this function. That's fair. I mean, it is literally warping in the sense of manipulating his mind to create an effect. Like, his mind was manipulated and altered to create this very specific effect, right? Of turning him into a guy with an eidetic memory, right? Who can also have his memories overwritten by watching a film strip, which... That's still one of the freakiest scenes in the show, I think.
Well, especially because, like, all of them just they look on in horror, and they're like...
I know!
What?
Getting 500 years of history crammed into your skull at once. Oh, by the way, after you do this, you start seeing different timelines.
Oh, and it's so abjectly horrifying.
Oh god, yeah. Like, you may not... It's possible you might not survive this. Like, there's a chance.
It could happen.
But, alright, so that was the worst episode of Travelers we've seen. because both parts of it are kind of iffy. And I think what really bothered me about it most was, so Marcy finds out that her original self was like a medical professional who got her brain warped by Enrico Colantoni's experiments in building his own consciousness transfer machine, right?
For reasons somewhat unclear.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, not unclear. I mean, we know, what do you mean? Why he was doing it, or why she got her mind wiped?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, like we know why he was doing it, but anyway, right, so, but then that doesn't really affect anyone's decisions for the next 2 episodes, and she doesn't tell anybody. Like, don't you think the fact that Enrico Colantoni is building his own brain transfer machine?
Wow, someone just walked right through me and I died.
Oh no! I wonder if your parts are flying around somewhere now.
No, I'm mostly whole. You just need to put me in the bin.
Alright. But anyway, right? Like, given, and we'll get to it now when we start talking about Simon. But I think it's fair to say that having the knowledge that Enrico Colantoni was building his own consciousness transfer machine would completely change, like, what they think is going on for the rest of the episode. And maybe that's going to come up next year, but I guess we'll get there. So, episode Simon. I did the last episode. This one's your turn.
Yes. So, remember our good friend Simon, who
was in the insane asylum. Yeah.
He's in the insane asylum. We find out he's Traveler 0004. Early experiment. He was sent back.
To build the Subternet.
Yes, to build the Subternet. Unfortunately, that kind of gave his host schizophrenia.
Yeah.
So, he's out there, the team is basically sent out to find him, retrieve him, and do what they can. And this is where, again, we see this continued breakdown in the show.
Yeah.
Because it's revealed that, again, Simon is seriously mentally ill.
Yeah.
And hallucinates Vincent.
Yes.
So everything before this now comes into question.
Yes. It's very frustrating because they're like, okay, but he was there in the past, and we find out that, yeah, he was there in the past, but it's like, how much of what we saw with Marcy actually happened? I think most of it, but the show is super unclear, right?
Yes.
Like, it's not just me who thought that.
No.
Like, 'cause then so first off, you get the possible fractured memories, then the next guy we get flashbacks from is a friggin' schizophrenic.
Yeah.
And it's like, it isn't until episode 12 where we literally see Vincent in the present day, like, telling the doctor at the at the asylum that he's shutting down the project, that we're like, okay, I'm really sure that 90% of that actually happened.
Yeah, you're kind of like, you're on the fence.
Right? Like,
yeah.
90% of that actually happened? But yeah, like, Vincent has brainwashed him to the point where if he gets taken by other travelers, he's supposed to kill himself. Or
cut out his tongue.
Cut out his tongue so he can't communicate with them. Yeah. And then, and I'm not saying it's a terrible episode, because I think this is one of those episodes that is good performances. I think everybody does a great job. I think the schizophrenic guy does a great job. Marcy, again, impresses. It's just, after freaking 2 seasons of waiting for it, it's just nice to see, what do you call it? Marcy and David just happy for a minute. Just for 1 minute.
Yeah. Right before we get to the eventual point that, we both know that the show is headed. Which is, a confrontation between Vincent and
the rest of the team.
Yeah.
And obviously it's going to involve his psychiatrist, because his psychiatrist is Amanda Tapping from from Stargate, and they're not going to put her in the show for no reason. Again,
Yeah.
in order for her character's casting to be significant, to know that, you have to know that Brad Wright worked on Stargate for years and that she's the star of Stargate. So it's like
She eventually becomes a star of Stargate.
eventually, yes. I mean, eventually Richard Dean Anderson leaves and she becomes the star of Stargate.
Yes,
And,
because he's demolished below the knee.
But yeah, it's no, because between him and because Dr. Daniel Jackson left for 2 years, right? And so, you know, they had a replacement guy, and then Richard Dean Anderson just leaves and Ben Browder comes in. But as a result, she's the only person, along with Teal'c, who's been there for the whole time. But of course, no one, and I mean, I hate to say this, but yeah, I mean, Teal'c's the Worf. He's never going to be the main character of the show. That's just a fact. Like, Teal'c is never going to be the show's main character.
No.
We love the guy. I'm a big fan of it. He's the new voice of Kratos, I found out. Like in
Yes.
the new God of War everybody loves. Apparently, it's Christopher Judge.
Boy.
Yeah, that was him. Isn't that great?
Yeah. Oh, it would be if you got more than one line, but
Ouch. He's got plenty of lines. All right, they're asking what's left to do, so let's look around. I'll just turn on my sensor, see if you get anything. So we get... All right, okay, so can I tell you my big problem with this episode?
shoot.
They've got this guy who was in an insane asylum, right? He was in an insane asylum, and Marcy has the information that she was in the insane asylum with him. She knows that.
Yes.
And she knows that he was being exploited by Vincent Enrico Colantoni. Like, she knows that. And yet, at the end of the episode, they're like, well, what do we do with this guy now that we've found out what little intel he has? Oh, just throw him back out on the street.
Yep.
I'm like, what? Like, you know he's been exploited for years.
And you know
years.
he's got some crazy skills.
He's got crazy skills. He has huge amounts of future information and technology. And Vincent might not be done with it. We have no reason to believe Vincent is done with him. And their answer is, well, yes, just throw him back on the street. Like, what?
Just throw him back out there.
Just throw him back out there. Even though all they friggin' had to do was ask him, and no one ever does. No one ever just asks him, hey, what did Vincent have you working on? Could you draw us a picture of it? And he would have drawn the array, and they would have said, oh, Vincent was having him build a body transfer machine. Right? And if they had that information, I feel like that would have changed their planning, and they would have known that something bad was going on. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, this... I think, again, emotionally, it's an interesting episode. I think acting-wise, it's a good episode, but plotting-wise, it's like, it's kind of weak.
Arc.
Yeah.
This last arc has
weak.
seen a pretty rapid deterioration.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's our step?
I think we're done here. Oh, wait.
No, there's...
I got some biohazard waste here, so I'm going to burn that. But anyway, you're saying that it has been a step down.
Yeah. If not two.
If it might be 2 steps down.
We were spoiled.
We were spoiled. Like they want to get to this ending so badly that they do a lot of sloppy writing to get us there. And the thing is, so I mean, I want to equate it to Counterpart, because Counterpart is an amazing show about these characters and this unbelievable emotional journey that's going on, and it's thrilling Cold War spy stuff, and it has some of the laziest plotting you'll ever see.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does. It has some of the laziest plotting you'll ever see. And this show hasn't had that kind of lazy plotting up until now. And I don't want to offend this show, but I don't think this show has the kind of incredibly strong, like unbelievably strong performances and premise that would lead me to give it a pass on the plotting the way I am willing to give Counterpart a pass on the plotting.
Counterpart gets a pass on the plotting because Counterpart's plotting is less tight for a reason. Like, they're doing a character piece.
Exactly.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah, so we're gonna have some loose plotting, and I mean, it makes you go like, oof, with some of the character stuff, but largely, you're okay. Like, I'm sorry, to this day, I can't tell you why the our side spy master thought it was a good idea to kill evil Howard at the end of the season. Like, they're on the same side. You are both explicitly on the same side. And yet he's like, we gotta clean this up by killing other side Howard. No, he has both information and skills you're gonna need to know. But then it's like, well, they need him to get killed, so I guess he's got to try to kill Howard and Baldwin has to rescue him? I'm like, why, though? Oh, because he knows what's going on. Yeah, he knows about the underhanded stuff. And I was like, well, yeah, but... No, what happened was, you, the writers, needed the spy master to get killed, so no one will know. You started a fire. You need him to get killed so that no one will know that Quayle's wife is the bad guy next year.
Yeah.
Right? And you need that to happen so you have a contrived series of events to lead up to that. You're like, no, well, I guess we got to kill Howard and his wife. You don't, though. You don't at all. Right? But you just need to get that to get the second episode started. And again, it is such a brilliant character piece that I'm not criticizing it, except to say that it's a kind of lazy plotting that we haven't had to put up with in Travelers at all. Like, we haven't. Travelers has been pretty rock solid, I think. Because it's I mean, yeah, some of it's a little hard to wrap your head around because it's heady sci-fi that can be confusing at times, but fundamentally, this is just a really good show. And I hope they get the plotting back next season. Right? I hope they get the plotting back next season because you would have to do a lot more with the characters to earn this kind of stuff. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So, can we move on to the season ender?
Ugh, I got problems with this.
I figured you would. Demoted again!
Oh my god.
What more could we have done? There were 4 of us. 4 of us cleaning every nook and cranny of that base.
I know.
We were still... God, this game. Like, I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but I honestly believe that it's the obtuse scoring system that is the main reason this game hasn't caught on. Because this game is so thrilling and so rewarding and so much fun, and you really, at the end of every level, you really feel like you've accomplished something. And then at the end of every level, the game gives you 2 middle fingers. You know? Like, I played this game Serial Cleaner, where you play a guy who cleans up after crimes and after a serial killer. Yeah. And guess what? There are clearly marked pieces of evidence, and there are clearly marked bloodstains, and once you've cleaned it all, once you're done with the level, they tell you what percentage you've cleaned it, they mark the places you missed, and they say how good a job you did, and it's clear what happened. This doesn't have that at all.
I know. Also, I have no idea what to do with these USB keys.
Yeah, we're going to have to search the internet at some point for that. Anyway, so can you load up another level while we talk about the season ender of Travelers? Merci beaucoup. So, I'll synopsize the season ender. Every single person that the Travelers love are kidnapped by Vincent all at once, and they're going to kill them if if the Travelers don't put videos on the internet confessing to how time travel works. And that's the plot of the episode. Nothing else happens this episode. And the best part of the episode, I'm going to make the argument that the best part of the... Well, there's two best parts of the episode. Best part of the episode 1. I'm already laughing. Best part of the episode 1 is finding out that Callum Rennie is his only friend. The lawyer who exploits him for gambling tips is Philip's only friend. He has made no connections this entire time. And that made me so sad, and I thought it was so beautiful. And everyone's like, oof. Yeah, that is a little sad. We're having trouble starting a mission again, so we'll just do that.
No.
I'll be right back. Oh, no, it is starting. Yay! Rust Station East. There we go. Yeah. His only friend. And the second one is David and the cop boyfriend. And cop boyfriend deciding they're going to... there's only 2 guys, and they haven't been tied up. So they're like, when they come back, we're going to take them down.
And then 5 people show up, and they're like, no,
cancel plan. Cancel plan. That was a beautiful scene. That was legit very funny. But yeah, this episode is just about putting the characters in a bad situation. It's just about questioning the characters. It's just about making it rough for the characters. And I mean, literally, there's almost no plot this week. It is literally they are threatened to do it, and they're like, but if we try to do this, won't the director just cancel us immediately? Won't he just because we're putting this stuff on the web, so the director's gonna know. So won't the director immediately just overwrite us as we start to confess? And of course, McLaren goes first because he wants to save his wife. He always prioritizes his wife even before the job, right?
Which is...
Yeah, I know. Which is not great, but we've talked about how, as you said, all of them have gone native to an extent, but he has gone native the most. I think that's fair to say.
But, it's just sort of sad, the entire thing with Philip. He's like, you're my only friend. He's like, no, man. I was just straight up exploiting you. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, well, no, but it's like every time Philip makes a connection with somebody, that person turns out to be evil or gets killed.
Or they're just like a scumbag.
Well, no, but it's like Callum Rennie is a scumbag, but he also did get him to AA. So it's like there's that, but it's like the hacker he liked ended up getting killed, and he couldn't. Right, the hacker that they all liked got killed, and they couldn't save her. His girlfriend turned out to be a faction person. It kind of sucks for him, is what I'm saying.
Yep,
it
I
just
agree.
Doesn't go well. All right,
but
yeah.
So
Please.
everyone's kidnapped.
Yes.
And trapped by Simon, who wants them to reveal to these people that their loved ones are actually time travelers.
Yep.
And the first time they try it, they're like, dude, I don't know what you're smoking.
I know.
Which is the proper reaction.
It's a good reaction, because it is such a crazy thing to say. And David has the completely credulous, no, they work for the FBI. I know about this. I know that they're all FBI employees. I know it's undercover, and she was only pretending to be someone with a mental disorder. He's so on board with them. It makes me so happy. And again, that's why we're so happy to see them together just for a second. Because it's David's just so on board and so helpful. You have to love him.
And I like how Callum Ritchie is like, oh shit.
Yeah.
This is actually the mob coming to kill me for my gambling debts.
Oh, he's such a mess. Oh God, such a good character. And so they all show up in the room. So they all get thrown in the same room, and Callum Rennie is knocked out in a chair, and I'm like, oh my God, we haven't seen him all year, and I've been missing him so bad. And it's I didn't realize how much I had been missing him until I realized we hadn't seen him all year, and he was such a good presence in that room.
Well, of course, because he's just
yeah. I know I'm a bad guy.
The fact that he's accepting it's oh shit. They
Yeah.
finally caught up to me, and you're just like, oh,
Aw. But how great is the there's actually a really well written part of the scene because because they realize like none of these characters know each other, but the second they start talking about their people that they're here for, they're like, "Oh wait, all of us are intimately connected and we had no idea."
yeah.
And I thought that was like it's only like 2 minutes, but that was a very well written scene of having all of the eggs come home to roost at once. And all of our chickens coming home to roost all at once was very good because I think what I always say is a hallmark of whether or not you're, and I mean, how should I put this? Here is a good signpost to whether or not you're making good drama. And that is, and quite simply, right? And doing this doesn't mean you're going to make good drama, but it's not, I doubt it's possible to make good drama without doing this. And that is the simple statement, are you questioning your character's worldview? Like,
That's fair.
yeah, like you can't do good drama without questioning the way your main characters see the world. Right? If you have characters who are just 100, and the thing is, the characters don't have to question it. The show has to like the characters can question. I mean, hell, Mad Men was entirely a show about a guy, you know, with his self-involved trying to figure out what was wrong with it. That's all the show Mad Men was about, and people loved it, right? But if you're not willing to question what side the character's on and whether it's the best side, you can't do good drama. Right? You can do bad drama while doing that, but you can't do good drama. Like, and that's why I always point to the show Sons of Anarchy, right?
Oh god, don't get me
And-
started on that.
Well, no, but it's like it had a first season that had the potential to go interesting places.
Yes, it actually did go interesting places where you're like, okay, well these guys are keeping various other groups out of this town.
Yes, right? And that was an interesting idea. And then but at the same time, you had another character there who was a sheriff, whose frigging job it was to keep these other characters out of town, right? And maybe he could have done that more effectively if there weren't frigging bikers all over the place, constantly running people off and covering up crimes.
Yes, if, you know, if the bikers weren't constantly being criminals, he'd have a less...
He would have a lot more time to deal with the friggin' Nazis.
Yes.
But what did the show do? In the first episode of the second season, they kill off the cop. And they essentially say, no, this show's worldview is the Sons of Anarchy are right. They can never be questioned. Everything they do is because they have the town's best interests at heart. You know, these are the good guys. And the show was never willing to question that again for the entire rest of the show's run. And that's why it became a terrible show, right? And it had the potential in that first season to go somewhere interesting. But then, and I honestly believe this is what happened, I believe Kurt Sutter went native.
Yeah.
I believe he hung out with too many 1% bikers.
Well, that's the thing. Like, he has an extensive history of doing that sort of thing, specifically in order to... Yeah. He hung out with disgraced cops and bikers.
Yeah.
Cops.
And it made for a great show, but where is the Shield different from Sons of Anarchy? Every second of the Shield is questioning what these characters are doing. And you and I agree that they were right sometimes, but they were wrong a lot, and Acevedo was right almost all the time. He made mistakes, but he was right about Mackie. You know? He
That's the
made
thing.
bad mistakes, but he was right about Mackie, and he was trying to do the right thing. And he screws it up right in the first episode, and he gets Reed Diamond killed. And well, he doesn't. I mean, Reed Diamond gets Reed Diamond killed. Because I'll drop that. Yeah. Reed Diamond gets Reed Diamond killed because of the friggin' because Vic's got a friend in the commissioner's office. But anyway, but the point is, right? Like, right in the first episode, like, David is part of that. David is part of the undercover op that screws up and gets Reed Diamond killed. And he spends the rest of the show trying to make up for that and paying for that. You know? And he goes to more and more extreme lengths to try to do the right thing about Vic. Right? Yeah. And well, we all know how that goes for him. And weirdly, kind of turns out okay-ish. You know? Okay adjacent, but, you know, and things don't end well for Vic. But the whole point of the show is, the show understands why Vic is doing what he's doing, but it doesn't condone what Vic's actions. You know? Everybody gets a chance to state their point of view. And in the same way, like, I think Travelers is doing the right thing in that way.
Yeah. Part of the problem is, it is really difficult to sympathize with these characters.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the only reason you care that Callum Ritchie is no longer chilling, or, like, Callum Ritchie's like, oh, well, you know,
I got it.
I was just a business partner of yours, and you're like, no, that was the entirety of the show. Don't worry.
I know. No, you're right. Like, that is part of it, right? But, like, I really do think, and this is why the second season opener impressed me in a way that the second season ender doesn't, because you really do get what Vincent's point of view is. You know?
Yeah.
After spending the whole first season establishing what hell the future is, to the point where, you know, Traveler 3900 whatever, Jason Gray Stanford, is happy to spend the rest of his life in a federal prison rather than be in the future. Right? They laid all of that stuff down just to get us ready for Vincent's character in season 2.
Yeah.
Right? To be this guy is like, no, there's no reason I shouldn't be able to enjoy the present. I mean, on some level, he's damaging the future, but is it so serious that you have to kill his wife?
And his kid, like, here's
and
the
his
thing.
business partner, and maybe kill his kid? Although they had the chance to kill his kid and they didn't. So there is that.
I actually have a personal theory about that.
Okay, go.
The director didn't kill his wife.
Oh, really? What is your theory?
No, she just had a stroke.
And his business partner?
Maybe not his business partner. Almost certainly not the wife.
You think the wife actually did have a stroke?
Yeah.
Damn, that would change everything.
Oh, because think of it like this.
Yeah.
If the director wanted to kill Traveler 001,
right, she
had her cell phone out,
he knows exactly where he was.
Yep.
That's true. And wait a minute. Hold on a second. Okay, I just realized
I had to go
something.
back and rewatch that episode.
I know, and I'm thinking about something. Traveler 001's voice was on the business partner's phone. If they'd want to kill him, they could have.
Yep. And that's why
Jesus, I didn't think about that, but you're right. You know what? He must have... Oh, no, wait. Actually, it still might not have been an actual aneurysm. But do you know what might be happening?
What?
He might have some information that is desperately needed by the director.
Or how about this? How about the faction? Because he seemed to know about the faction.
Well, no, but he found out about the faction by torturing members of the faction. He didn't know about them already. There was no faction when he came back. He's found out about the faction from faction members and all the torture and kidnapping. Here's something. Okay, here's something. I think they do need something from him. Because when they were gonna go and kill him, the director full on just says, stand down, do not go after him. Their plan in that episode was, let's go kill Vincent. And Vincent's plan was to say, let's go kill Eric McCormack's team. But what happens? Each of them, both of them simultaneously get a child visitor saying, stand down, do not fight each other.
Yes.
And one of them, as you point out, is his frigging son, meaning they could have overwritten him and killed him right then, but they chose not to.
Yes.
Oh, damn. I hadn't thought about that at all. Oof. That actually raises an interesting question about the season ender, because he turns himself over to be overwritten, and they do it. Although, we know it's not him being overwritten, but...
Oh.
I actually have a question about that. Who's getting overwritten there?
I think it's Simon.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, where's Simon?
Here would be my original assessment. It's
because he promised Simon a working brain, right?
Yeah.
He promises Simon a working brain. So what you think happens is he transfers his consciousness into Amanda Tapping. He lets Simon transfer his consciousness into his old body, and then Simon immediately gets overwritten as a way of him covering his tracks.
Yes. But also, I think
That's a good
theory.
Yeah.
The director never intended to kill Simon at all.
Oh.
And as Simon has progressively become more and more of a problem.
Okay.
Because the director didn't know what was happening to his team, and just lose contact.
Yeah, he just went dark.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And so what's happening in those cases is right?
Okay.
The director's like, okay, well now I gotta solve this problem.
Damn. Okay, I hadn't thought about it that way. All right, you could be right about that.
Oh.
Damn. Well, okay. So let's get to the cliffhanger and let's talk about where we think it can go next year. Because at the end of season 1, we were like, that's quite a cliffhanger, but fundamentally we knew that the only solution is everybody immediately gets overwritten. Like, all the FBI agents immediately get overwritten. And that's exactly what happened. You know? All the FBI agents immediately got overwritten. Turns out it was with faction people, but, you know, that's still how they got out of that situation. I don't think there's the same kind of easy answer this time. Like, I don't see a way for them to get out of this.
Yeah.
And here's, like, because, and this is going to sound weird, they can't do another, like, that 17 minutes episode that was so well done, right? Like, they can't do that another time. Because, I mean, I was about to say, can they just undo all of this by having a traveler come back and undo it? And I'm like, well, we don't have any concrete evidence that a traveler has gone back in time during this whole window. So maybe they could, but that would be such a cheat. I feel like they wouldn't do that.
True.
You know, like...
I think that...
Because no messengers in this whole period... There's no messengers and no new travelers. And they even question briefly, why no messengers? You know, it's like, why hasn't the director weighed in when we're trying to reveal our existence to the public? Like, we're right here trying to reveal our existence to the public and succeeding, and the director's doing nothing. The director's not sending a messenger, and the director is not overwriting them. But then... right at the end of the episode, the director does overwrite Vincent's body, meaning that a body can't be sent back in time to undo this stuff.
I'm not sure. Honestly,
okay, you're not sure either. Okay, good.
Like, I don't think this is going to be a director fix. This will be...
them.
Yeah. I would like to note that of the people at the end, it's like, oh, hey, Jeremy, person who tried to rape me this episode, so...
Last episode, but yes.
Yeah, it's like you're a genuinely terrible person.
Yeah.
So
now we're on his side again? Just because
Yeah.
he got kidnapped? No. They shouldn't be together. He's not going to stop drinking, and he's not going to become a good guy. So if you want us to get on board with him, and again, he's responsible with David for the funniest moment of the episode, but we're not on board for this character show. Do you think we're on board for this character? We want them to be split up.
yes, in fact, you spent quite some time.
Establishing that.
Yes.
Like, that these guys don't belong together. He's fundamentally a screwed up guy. He's fundamentally an alcoholic. He's fundamentally violent and controlling. That's not going to change. And she can't change him. You know, like, you might be able to change the future, but you can't make this guy not a scumbag unless you're willing to have him get overwritten, which would work fine. Then this plan would work perfectly.
Yeah.
Oh, God. But yeah. So, my one theory, and I know this... My theories have often proven to be wrong in the past, so I don't think this is going to happen. But my theory is, okay, and this is going to sound a little crazy, so bear with me. I suspect that the director looked at the changes in the timeline caused by them revealing their presence on this day at this time, and was like, these changes are a net positive to the work I'm trying to do.
I would say so because, let's face it, if you had like a verified time traveler from the future be like, things have gone to shit and we need to
make concrete changes here in the past to keep everybody from dying.
I'd be like, I might
Can
be
you
down
prove
with
you're
that.
from the future? And then the person does prove they're from the future? Then maybe, yeah, like you said, maybe you'll be like, oh, okay, yeah. I
Like,
might
as long
get
as you're
on
not
board.
for some weird communist future, I'm down with this.
Well, by the way, they are.
Yes,
They
this is-
literally are.
I don't think that's so much a communist future as like there's 100,000 of us left,
Left. Yeah,
and we can't
there's no-
survive apart.
Exactly. Well, again, you are describing the ten. Anyway, but the point is, we can't survive unless we all work together. Is like the central defining tenet of communism. But
No,
yes,
it's something wildly different.
No, that's
It's
what
largely
that's-
murder, followed up by, I like your stuff. Give me your stuff.
Again, you're describing Maoism and Stalinism, not
And
communism.
Trotskyism.
And Trotskyism, not
Which is- it's like-
communism.
That's
which
like
is
saying
the thing,
you're
which is-
describing vanilla ice cream and chocolate ice cream, but you're not describing ice cream itself. I'm like,
No,
are you seeing something in
because-
common? The murder.
Because there's no murder. No, I will say there's a difference because none of those necessarily have chocolate in them if chocolate is murder. But anyway, the point is, we're not going to get into this whole communism now, except to remind everybody that what Jesus preached was communism. They were literally communes. And the entire concept of communism was in part inspired by the Sermon on the Mount. So, let's move on. And the murder and the stealing everybody's stuff was not an integral part of Jesus's message. But anyway, let's continue. But yeah, you might not be, although the weird part is, I think you might be down with their future, just because you would see it as a way of keeping the communist nightmare future from happening.
No, I want no nightmare futures.
Well, no, it wouldn't be a nightmare
I want to
future
keep
at all.
the future to be as minimally nightmarish as possible.
Yes, minimally nightmare. Okay. So if the Gun Wrangler has a plan for tomorrow, it's minimal nightmares.
I mean, we're gonna have some.
Yeah, there's going to be some nightmares, but if we can
I
keep
mean-
those nightmares as you know, to small scale as possible,
Okay, let's put this into perspective.
please.
When we had
Yeah.
The internet first invented, everyone's like,
Yes.
this will speed mankind towards a greater, brighter future, and then we got Twitter.
Yes.
So, like,
Yeah.
it's not awful. Like, we're not living under cyborg rule, but
Yeah.
still
But
less
Twitter
than
was
ideal.
not- yeah. It's still not the ideal. Okay, I see your point. But yeah, I think were these 3 episodes of Travelers the least good episodes the series have had? I think they were. I think you are right to be as harsh as you were on 10. We both had real problems with 11, and there's weaknesses here in the season finale. But I think it's also safe to say that there are pieces here in the season finale that are put in place for the show to redeem itself and maybe get even better.
Okay, I'm willing to give you that.
And I mean, I'm not saying we're not going to dump out of Travelers halfway through season 3 if it turns out to be garbage. There's a very real possibility of that happening. All right? I'm not going to stay dedicated to the show no matter what. But I feel like they did a good enough job for 1 2/3 of a season that I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that they
Me
can
too.
pull this back next year. Okay.
I agree, and
Okay.
we've been lenient with Counterpart mostly
We
because
have.
it's quite good.
So, well, no, because of the incredible, career high performance of really everyone in the cast, but especially, oh God,
J.K.
how am I blanking?
Simmons?
J.K. Simmons, thank you. I was about to say,
J.K. Rowling.
no, J.E. Walsh or whatever his name was. Anyway, the one is J.K. Simmons. A career best performance from J.K. Simmons in a career that has already had more highs than most people ever reach.
Yes.
Like, he's already one of the best actors of his age, and this might be his best performance ever in this dual role. So, yeah. Just a fantastic job. And, I mean, we're willing to forgive it a lot just because of that. And everybody else is great, too. You know?
I mean, it's hard to be like, yeah, there's a real weak link here. No.
No, not at all. You know, it's like everybody's doing an incredible job. It's only the plotting that holds that show back from being, perfection. And
Yeah,
as
from
you
being
said-
the next Breaking Bad, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. Because Breaking Bad. Now, there's a show with a laser-focused plot. Jesus. Oh, my God. Such a good job, that show. All right, so I guess that's going to be that. Do you have a quiz for the people? Can you come up with a quiz for Counterpart, Jesus, sorry. Can you come up with a quiz for Travelers off the top of your head?
Let's think.
Apparently now I can't even load stuff into boxes
That's pretty
without it
impressive.
exploding. Wow. If you can't, it's fine. You can go
Yeah.
without a quiz this week.
Well, we're going to go without a quiz this week because I'm disappointed.
Yeah. You want to show this show, you want to give this show, teach this show a lesson
Yes.
by, just not having a quiz. All right. So, we're going to be back next week. Before then, a Gun Wrangler will likely have gotten Sniper Elite 3, so we're probably going to be playing some Sniper Elite 3,
Yep.
which is one of my favorite games. And then when it goes on Super Sale, we'll get him a copy of Sniper Elite 4, which is even better. Like, Sniper Elite 3 is incredible. Sniper Elite 4, the best sniping game ever made. Can't say enough good things about that one. Oh, God.
Yep.
We'll be back for that. We have no idea what we're going to be talking about next week. It's very exciting. But after we sign off right now, we're going to decide what we're watching next week. So look forward to that. All right. But until then, I've been the Hidden Object Guru. You can catch more of my stuff here on the channel. I would like to obviously recommend people check out Viscera Cleanup Detail, and I would recommend that the Viscera Cleanup Detail people, go play Serial Cleaner, figure out how to do this better, and then come back and do this better, because I still love your game, and I want it to be everything it could be. Do you have a recommendation, Gun Wrangler?
Oh, I do.
Ooh.
What came out this week?
Banner Saga?
Banner Saga.
Banner Saga 3, everybody! The dream's a reality. More turn-based strategy about awesome Vikings.
I'd also like to plug 2 creepypastas.
Oh, go.
Stairs in the Woods,
All right.
which generated quite a following, if I remember right.
Cool. Stairs in the Woods.
And, of course, Candle Cove, because I just learned that they made a show out of it.
Cool. What's the show called? Is it called Candle Cove?
Now it's called Channel Zero.
Oh, Channel Zero did a season about Candle Cove. Nice.
Yeah, or it did a mini season. It's like 3 or 4 episodes.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought every season was a different myth, but whatever.
Yeah,
Good
but
for them.
like they're calling them seasons, but they're not that long.
Just a couple. Okay, so they're just like little mini-series. Cute. That's actually great to hear. All right, so I guess that is that. We will see you back here for more. There's buttons coming up, but we'll see you here when we're checking out our things sometime next week. But until then, au revoir.